Hello everyone and welcome to my React tutorial series. Now, this is going to be a series of videos going over the basics of the React front-end library or framework. Now, for those of you who are wondering what is React, React is essentially what's called a front-end framework for JavaScript, which allows us to make very responsive and very reactive websites. And if you learn React, you can also learn its cousin framework, React Native, which also empowers you to create mobile applications as well, paired with React websites. So once you learn this kind of a framework, you can build all sorts of applications, and it reads very much like both JavaScript and HTML, and it's very nice to get used to. It basically does allow us to create very powerful websites in a way that just isn't possible, or not isn't possible, but isn't possible within the same time frame that it is to use vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. React is a very, very employable skill. In fact, as a software engineer, in my previous job, I did use React to build websites, and I used React Native to work on various client apps at my company. So it is a very, very current skill, and it is used across the industry. Right now, it is an industry standard, and likely will stay that way for quite a while. So that's basically what is React. Now, in terms of installing React, it's very simple. You need to have Node.js installed. That's one of the prerequisites. And of course, as general prerequisites to this tutorial series, you need to have basic JavaScript knowledge, basic HTML knowledge, basic command line knowledge, and you need to have Node.js installed and basic understanding of Node. Now, if you don't have any of these, I will hopefully leave some cards up in the top right. I've made videos on all of those topics, so if you are not caught up on those, then you can check out my other videos, which should be in the top right. Now, when we want to install React, we are going to use a tool called npx create React app. So all I do is I went to the React documents. So to show you how to do that, I just went React or React getting started. And then of course I clicked on this, and this brings me to this page here. Now once you scroll down, there's something called Create React App. It is the simplest way to get started. It even says it if you are learning React or creating a new single page app, use Create React App. It is the most, it's the default way basically for beginners at least. So the way you get started is you go ahead and copy this command here, npx create-react-app, and then you give it whatever name. They say my app, but I'm going to change that a little bit. So again, we type npx create-react-app, and then let me quickly, sorry about this, let me quickly change my settings to update my my terminal size here. There we go. Sorry. I had my terminal size much smaller, so this is much better here. So npx create-react-app, and then we say tutorial app, or you can name it whatever you want. So it'll go ahead and create a tutorial app, and this will run. This will take a little while, but basically once this is running, what it is doing is it is creating a basic React app for us that we can use. Now, in the meantime, while this is running, we are not going to get to too much React code today. We are going to go over what is React. So essentially what React is it is a way to, of course, write website code in JavaScript. And the way it approaches that is using something called JSX. Now, JSX is basically HTML. It's very, very similar. And you can see it right here, except you notice this is JavaScript code because it's const element. So we're creating a variable, and then we're setting it equal to some HTML tags. And this is what's called JSX. It is almost like HTML inside JavaScript, and it can be used like this, where you set it as the result of a variable. Now, it talks a lot about why JSX. If you want to read this, you can just come here to the docs, and it's just main concepts introducing JSX. So just like this, you'll have an element that looks like this, and then you can call React DOM.render and then call that element. And then what it'll do is it'll render this like HTML, for example. And as you can see, there's many different ways to do this or to use this. Again, this element is set, and then now it is using a function because in JSX, that's the one difference. If you surround anything in brackets, you can actually call JavaScript code inside. So for example, what they're doing here is they're saying hello, comma, and then they're using these brackets, and then they are embedding a function call inside, which returns the user. So this will actually come out to on the website saying hello, Harper Perez. So that is one of the benefits of using JSX or HTML and JavaScript essentially, with some caveats, is that you can actually compute the HTML. It doesn't have to be set in stone. It's not static. In fact, this is computed at render time. So it'll always say hello, but then the JavaScript kicks in and actually this can change. The result of what comes here can change. And that is what lets you create dynamic UIs and things like that that can change very often using JSX. So, of course, that is the gist of it. That's essentially all you need to know. If you are coding in vanilla React, you will already know 90% of the syntax when it comes to JSX because you are basically just writing HTML. And again, we see this again here. You have the H1s. This is standard HTML, but inside you have a bracket, and then you have a JS expression. So this is title. Um, this is literally a user input. So this is a string in JavaScript. You can think of it like that. And again, we're saying h1 and then we're putting title in the inside. So this will result to whatever string is inside title, which is from an input. So of course, this is safe, but the input response itself could be, whatever the user types in. So again, that is how we work with JSX. Now, on top of that, React uses what's called the virtual DOM to render. Now, there is a quick explanation here. It's a programming concept where there's a virtual representation of the UI in memory, and basically React constantly syncs up the two. There's a couple different visuals here on the internet. Now, basically, I like this one too. You can think of the DOM as a tree, same way that you can think of a website as a tree. So I'm gonna go ahead and just open up. I'm just gonna create an index.html here, just so I can help visually represent this. So of course we have an HTML document, and then we have a body, and then we have an H1, and then maybe we have a div here. Um, but as you can see here, HTML works very much like a tree as well, because HTML is the root node, this basic top thing here. And then let me actually put a head and like that. I'll just expand these out. So basically, HTML is our root node. It's this very, very top blue circle. And anything that happens in the website happens under it. And then as a direct child of HTML, you have the head nodes and the body nodes. So this left one is the head, and this right one is the body, for example. And then within the body, you have an H1 and a div. For example, imagine this is the body now, this is the H1, and this is the div. You can see as we go down, it's kind of like traversing a tree. Now, the way the virtual DOM works is there's a virtual representation of this in JavaScript. And basically, whenever we have some code that changes, so we have original text, and imagine this is like an actual website. We have an H1 rendering and then a div with just a paragraph text saying original. Now, in JavaScript, whenever this code changes to new text, all it'll do is it'll re-render this H1. As you can see, this red is this H1, for example. And when it changes, it'll re-render all of the children, and it'll update in the browser DOM, which the browser DOM is the website. The DOM just stands for document object model, which basically, in our case, is the website itself. So whenever anything changes in our virtual representation of the website, it will update on the website itself. Now, of course, this is slightly hard to explain just talking in abstract concepts, which is why as soon as this finishes, hopefully I can start up a basic React app to do some demonstration. But essentially, those are the main concepts of React. Now, in the following videos, we will be getting to these other kind of more advanced concepts, or not even more advanced, but rendering elements, components, state, lifecycle. These are the core of React. And essentially, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about them right now, is they allow us to utilize React to its fullest potential. Because right now, you're probably wondering, like, what is the benefit? Of course, there's some benefit. It's writing HTML in JavaScript and being able to dynamically change it. But there's much more functionality that is afforded by this framework. So, like for example, you can render elements. So if you have, for example, a carousel element, which is it's a wheel of photos that a user can spin around. Uh, in HTML, normally to implement that, you would have to have a div with a class of carousel, and you'd have to put children and all that. But in JavaScript, that process can be kind of abstracted away by creating a component. So, for example, imagine you wanted to have a carousel in vanilla HTML, which is like a wheel of images. Imagine you had to have a grid, or I mean, not a grid, a div with a class of carousel, and then I actually don't know how to spell carousel, so we'll just say C. Um, and basically, as a child of that div, you'd have to have a million images, just like this, and you'd have to put sources, and it would be something like this. And then, of course, the styling would be crazy. You'd have to add a ton of styling to add the rotation of the images and all that. So this would be pretty complicated in normal HTML. Well, in React, to a degree, what we can do is we can either install a component or make one ourselves, and then we can just say carousel. We can literally do something like this. Now, this is one of the differences between JSX and HTML. This is a custom tag in essence. It is called a component in React, and we create this thing, or someone else creates it. But basically, we create a new JavaScript file that's c.js, and then we can actually implement this component and add whatever functionality we want inside it. That's one of the benefits. And then, of course, there's also something called state. And state basically is that a component, like I said, this C thing here, can actually hold some information about itself. Imagine in HTML, you have a paragraph that has some information about itself. And then you have a button also in the website that when you click that button, it can talk to the paragraph and update its contents, if that makes sense. So basically, you can have components of your website talking to each other through JavaScript because the whole thing is written in JavaScript. So there is no intermediary, there is no like events, or of course there are events, but there are no like usually directly manipulated events and handling and then updating HTML by updating the document by using document dot get element by ID and then updating. No, it's all happening within this virtual DOM here, where we basically have a virtual representation of the website written in JSX, and we can update that accordingly. So hopefully this can finish up soon so I don't have to keep talking about abstract concepts that might seem confusing to a React beginner. But this is kind of the allure of React, and it finished. Nice. So I accidentally created this in the wrong folder. So let me go ahead and grab this tutorial app and toss it in my React folder. So I'm going to delete this index.html here because that's useless. And we are going to close everything. So when you create an app like this, it creates a tutorial-app folder or whatever you named it. And it has node modules, public, and source. So the main places you're going to look are here in source and then public. You'll see in HTML. This is the base HTML file. If you need to add any meta tags, for example, this is where you add them. But I'm going to close that. And here in source is where the magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and open up app, and this is the base of our app. Now, before explaining anything, I'm going to go ahead and again, I said you needed basic terminal knowledge. I'm going to go cd into tutorial or cd into front end dash react dash tutorial app. And then all I'm going to do is to run this website. It's just a simple React project. We can say npm run start, I believe, or it's just npm start. No. So you run npm run start, and that will go ahead and start to run your website. And it'll only take a minute or a couple seconds. And once we get this all up and running, you will see the base website. And then while this loads, you can see there is some JSX here. Again, this is all JavaScript, except it's returning HTML, if that makes sense. So you can see if we dissect this a bit, there's a div with a class name of app, and then there's a header in here. There's an image, a P, an A, and you'll see the source is equal to a JavaScript. Remember, these brackets are JavaScript, and then there's logo. So logo is the JavaScript import. And what we're doing is we're actually importing this SVG image right here. And you can see all of that. So for example, you can also see some CSS in here because we are still using CSS, obviously, except now we are importing it into our website just like that. Um, and normally this does not take that long to run. I think I might have a bad React configuration on my computer, but although this is the first time startup, it always takes longer to start up on the first time ever. So we'll just let that run. Um, and then it is starting the development server and perfect. So it opens up in localhost colon 3000, and this video is getting a bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and try to end it. Um, but we can see the basic code structure here. I'll just basically let this website finish loading, and then we can play around with some of the stuff in here and get started, and then go ahead and move on to the next episode. So as soon as this finishes, yeah, this definitely does not take this long normally. Um, I might just uninstall and reinstall React just to get this fixed. But okay, so you can also see there's some differences in these files here. There's two different files. There's index.js and app.js. This is another concept that we will talk about. These are the base imports, React and React DOM. And then what we're doing is this is the very, very root of the project. This React DOM.render is at the heart of React. This is what starts React. And then what we're doing is we're running react.strict mode, which this is a component that I talked about. Notice it's an HTML kind of form. And all it does is it enables strict mode. And then inside, as a child of that, we run this app component here, and you'll notice import app from app. And again, this is the app that we've been looking at. It's a function. In fact, let's go ahead and change this to be const app is equal to arrow function like this. If you're not familiar with the syntax, I recommend you read up about it. I did create a video about it a while ago called arrow functions, but this is the same thing as the previous syntax. It just looks a little cleaner. And then we're exporting it here. Now, really, this development server is taking forever to start up, but I think I had this error, or this started happening after like a year of using React. So I might be running an old version. That might be why. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and uninstall it and reinstall it after this video is done. But I might just cut to when we get this all up and running. Then we can. Oh, um, yeah. Okay, it's outdated. Um, okay, so this is not how I expected this video to go, but um, basically, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. In the next episode, we will start off by taking a look at this website because you guys haven't gotten to see it yet. And so far, it's probably all abstract concepts. So if you do want to see the website, I highly recommend you check out the next video right away. And I will see you right there. So if you want to see more content like this, I recommend you check out the React playlist, which will be linked in the description. I'll be uploading every 2 days. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications whenever I post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.